Hello everyone, I am the Double Agent, and part 1 is on my channel. There's a link in the description, and it should be in the related section.
It's too late to apologize.
Number 5.
It's too late. With you, girl.
Chris Brown.
Yeah?
No, that was it. You say something now.
Look, it's not like I'm going to be objective when it comes to this artist, though I will say, back in 2007, 2008, I might have called myself a fan. What? It's true, partially because he had songs in that era that I genuinely liked. Forever, With You, hell, I even liked No Air, even if the production is dated as hell.
I, on the other hand, like exactly 1.5 of his songs, that being Forever and the half of Yeah 3X that isn't the chorus. No matter what style he goes for, the dude just has an irritating voice that I can only really get behind when it's been lathered with effects to the point of unrecognizability, and even that only works about 1/3 of the time. Case in point,
I used to like this song.
wait, really?
Oh, come on, I was 17.
So you're telling me, when you were 17, you didn't notice the weird truck radio intro thing that was very of its time, the grating synth that lacks any real melody, Chris Brown's non-rhymes, the horrible way Chris Brown says words, that auto-tune that does nothing to mask Chris's dog whistle overtones and really only emphasizes them, that obnoxious call and response thing on the bridge, and one of the dumbest, most irritating choruses of the entire decade?
Yeah. Now, look, to be fair, I might have some sympathy for Chris given my age, but in retrospect, yeah, everything about this song is brang, juvenile, and obnoxious. It honestly reminds me a little bit of Who Let the Dogs Out by the Baha Men and its sweaty, prepubescent skirt chasing, but with the barking, just with auto-tune this time. And that's before we get to the lyrics that don't even try to make sense. Seriously, T-Pain, what girl would fantasize over these guys who would brag about taking her to McDonald's? That's where we get to the non-punchlines of Chris Brown describing himself as bird-like and a pretty boy. You know, even as a hormonal, egotistical teenager, I couldn't have related to any of that.
So basically, you like this song because you wanted to get laid.
Well, yeah, obviously.
That's so stupid.
You'll get it when you're older.
5430, yeah.
I said it's too late to apologize.
Number 4. And here's where my story of shame gets even dumber, because back in 2008, when I was looking for more Chris Brown songs,
Why?
I didn't know any better. Anyways, this is the era of LimeWire, so all I found was individual songs. And when I found this track, well, in retrospect, it was a mistake.
Stunt is a habit, put it in the house. Stunt is a habit, put it in the house. Stunt is a habit.
Right off the bat, what is this beat? The cheap dime a dozen tap and clap stock percussion, the little whistly thing in the background that sounds like a loading music on an NES game, the mediocre bass, and the lack of absolutely anything else just makes it seem like a last-minute phone-in kind of thing. There's not even an instrumental switch up on the chorus, it just keeps repeating the same loop.
Diamonds in my mouth, got some Gucci on my seat, got G's on my ass.
And it's about the worst possible beat for a rapper like David Banner, who at his best needs a beat that can match his energy and intensity. And yet his delivery here is completely lacking in any sort of fire, which is about the only thing that could have excused how badly written this song is.
This chorus is probably the furthest thing I've ever heard from a chorus. It has a total of 4 lines, and none of them rhyme. And that's not even to mention the verses, which are just... what is going on?
Little bit of change, now you're bored and blown up. And I'm pouring things to get to.
David Banner sounds like he got stung by a wasp on both his nose and tongue. The lack of substance is only accentuated by Chris Brown's desperate attempt to interject some kind of melody into it. And Young Jock, well, he is certainly trying.
To the ceiling, getting in my Chevy's like climbing up a building.
Sad part is I'd actually say Chris Brown's at least trying to. He's screwing up. Nobody wants to hear how you're grown, Chris. Does that make you a big pretty boy now? But in comparison to Young Jock phoning in his chorus and David Banner's bragging making less sense with every single bar, getting into your car like climbing up a building, talking about screwing your girl's mom, even by the standards of empty bling rack, this doesn't make you look cool. And then you have the line about how the white boys go sweet, which, no, they really don't.
Stunt is a habit, put it in the house. Stunt is a habit, put it in the house. Stunt is
Okay, for real this time, how did you ever listen to this?
It was accidental, I swear.
stunt is a habit.
I said it's too late.
Well, this is still horrible. It's not on the list, but it's still horrible.
Yeah, I gotta be honest, I've never really minded this song. At least it's got some groove and punch, enough transgressive attitude to both titillate and castigate potential womanizing assholes. And for Britney Spears, it makes use of her incredibly limited range in order to actually hit a sweet spot for me. To me, Britney's always been at her worst when she's playing to tabloid provocation when it's not needed.
So, like this?
I'm missing American dreams since I was 17. Don't matter if I step on the scene.
For the sake of consistency with that one worst #1 hits video I did a while ago, I wanted to put Womanizer on this list, but even if I had full creative control over this, I probably would have left it off, because it wasn't even the worst song Britney released that year.
Media karma, another day, another drama. Guess I
Oh look, she's trying to do social commentary. That's so adorable. Yeah, maybe next time don't use a vocal effect that makes you sound like you have a crumb stuck in your throat.
And you know what's frustrating is that Britney Spears' production is always so involved and micromanaged, especially in the Blackout era, which is supposedly when she was most transgressive, and ironic considering the lack of melody in this song, and yet she still manages to sound like ass.
Just this awful, breathy sneer of a performance, only emphasized by the uncomfortably whispery instrumental backing it. I'm out of breath just listening to this.
piece of me.
And the production is a train wreck for the record. I'm trying to follow the melody of the synth, but I don't really think there is one. It's mostly just one note, and any sense of progression here is coincidental at best. The chorus is never even really led up to. They just kind of slap on the sound of two synthesizers being rubbed together and call it a day.
I'm Mrs. Lifestyle, rich and famous. You want a piece of me? I'm Mrs. Oh my God, that Britney shameless.
And look, I get it if Britney wants to lash out at paparazzi. For the most part, paparazzi deserve it. But A, let's not pretend that Britney only stayed relevant in the mid-2000s thanks to the paparazzi. And B, it's rare when the writing is so obnoxious that I'm almost rooting for them. They're not even the cause of anything here, they're just symptomatic of the bigger problem of the public actually caring about Britney's meltdown to begin with. Which is kind of ironic considering she didn't even write this song. It was actually written by the same guys who wrote Toxic, which at least had some sleek tightness to it and doesn't wallow in bad press for its own sake. Seriously, you don't get to brush aside being called Miss Bad Media at Karma after the catastrophe that was Britney and Kevin Chaotic.
This reads like a college freshman's first slam poetry reading, and the delivery is so forced and robotic at points, it's nearly impossible to make out what she's even saying.
And with a kid on my arm, I'm still an exception. And you want a piece of me.
This is just everything people hate about Britney. The media pandering, the unnatural vocal performance, the willful stupidity as well as the pretension. A very clear intention with very botched execution.
Well, at least we can thank will.i.am and Iggy Azalea for killing her second win in the public limelight. At least she's got Vegas, where I can thankfully ignore her in peace.
You want a piece of me.
Number 2.
2008 was the year of half-awake sleeper hits. And among the mediocre rap and the mediocre pop, one of the more interesting songs we got out of the whole ordeal was Miss Independent by Ne-Yo. And, you know, as much as I like the production, the lyrics were a bit condescending, to say the least. Ne-Yo just seems a tad too impressed that this woman can handle her own life here.
And yet, strangely enough, Ne-Yo wasn't even first to the punch as far as patronizing empowerment by proxy anthems go. There was a track released just a few months earlier dealing with a subject matter that was so similar, it's almost kind of suspicious. Basically take the same subject matter, subtract the production, the veneer of class, about 80 IQ points, and we get...
I-N-D-E-P-E-N-D-E-N-T. Do you know what that mean, man?
You know, I'll say one thing for the song. That bass line, it definitely bumps in the whip.
That's not an excuse.
It can be. It's not here, but it can be.
Work hard, you a bad bro. If you ain't on set,
I think it's safe to say this song's bumpability is probably the only redeeming quality it has whatsoever. I mean, listen to that bass, those synths, that crowd chanting.
do you know what that mean? Baby fat, just relax, front your own flat screen.
This song was released in 2008, and it sounds exactly like a bad 2014 song. This song was ahead of its time in its awfulness.
Borderline progressive.
In fact, who produced this? Was it DJ Mustard? I mean, it wasn't, obviously, but still, I gotta know. Oh. This was produced by Mouse. As in, like, an actual mouse? Because I'd buy that. Yeah, as far as the production goes, I think Ne-Yo wins this round. This is one of those songs that mistakes loudness for quality.
And even if the production held up, we'd still have to deal with these three assholes yammering about how much this girl is independent, yet totally wants all of the penis, which is alternately referred to as the dick and the jug. That's new. That's not even touching on the line where Lil Phat talks about her buying the dick, may he rest in peace, or Boozy Badass talking about how this girl's clothes match her phone, which I'm quite certain is not a thing.
Yeah, as far as the writing goes, Neo definitely comes out on top once again. I mean, at least Neo was impressed and not just turned on.
And you know, all that would be ample reason to dislike the song, but no. It's really this high on the list because of that hook. That awful, awful hook.
This is just a horrendous barrage of noise. Rule of thumb, don't try to slowly or rhythmically spell out a word in your hook. It almost never works. Not even Hall & Oates could pull this off. What makes the producers think some guy named Webbie should give it a shot?
At the very least, don't make it 11 letters long, which forces it to land on the off measure and sound stilted as hell.
It just so happens that every single letter is delivered in the same awful tone. This harmony is horrible. He found the two worst possible notes to speak in, and he used them. Just, oh my god, worst 20 seconds of the entire year.
Well, we can take some solace that outside of the underground, this song effectively killed all their careers. And honestly, don't have any issues with that. Next!
And before we get to number 1, the obligatory stretched out dishonorable mentions to heighten the non-existent suspense.
You know, it might have been Young Jeezy's best-selling hit, but that synth and that beat are too thin to be all that imposing. Not helped by lyrics that alternate between clumsiness and goofy-as-hell fast food references. And I have no idea why Kanye thought it would be a good idea to rap his verse in autotune. I know it was the 808s era, but come on here. And this is a hype anthem. Why are you complaining about your problems again? We've stopped caring.
Like a lollipop. She said, like a lollipop.
Probably the single worst usage of autotune I've heard on any song. Beat's okay though.
I don't care what Ethan says here, I stand by my opinion. This is one of the worst songs of the decade. Not really much more to say about that.
And I stand by my opinion that you're stupid. Moving on. Yet another rap song comparing genitals to candy, except this time it's the vagina, which makes even less sense.
Hey, Billboard, this belongs on Radio Disney, not the pop charts. Well, at least Nick Jonas made something of himself. Give him that.
And we were trying different things, and we were smoking funny things.
This beat is an incredible mashup of Sweet Home Alabama and Werewolves of London. I would probably love it if Kid Rock wasn't the worst thing ever.
We didn't have no internet.
Touch my body, put me on the floor, twist me around.
You know, it breaks my heart to put Mariah on this list, but between the god-awful production, the clumsy writing, and the threats to hunt this guy down, which I don't believe she could pull off for a second, yeah, this is probably one of the worst things she's ever done.
This is about 2/3 of a functional song. Unfortunately, the remaining third is completely off key. And now, number 1.
Okay, obviously we had our disagreements in this video. Of course, it was mostly because Ethan has no idea what he's talking about, but I'm not gonna say that to his face here.
But even regardless of Mark being a two-faced asshole, there was one song we agreed on almost immediately.
When I grow up, I wanna be famous, I wanna be a star, I wanna be a movie. When I grow up.
Okay, let's be brutally honest here. Nobody has ever listened to the Pussycat Dolls for the music. Ever. This is a group that was made for music videos and masturbation, nothing else. Unfortunately, in the mid-2000s, that could still get you hits and popularity, which led to this atrocity. I mean, it's a Pussycat Dolls song that's not sexy. That feels on principle.
This song just hits you like a wall, just this massive, condensed pile of annoying noises. You got some descending guitar riff at the end of each measure that resembles a playground taunt, some frog croaking in the background, the constant ha 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 ha's from the group members.
Always wanted to be a superstar. You've been singing songs with Britney. La 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 la.
This synth that kicks in on the chorus that sounds like a hooker with lung cancer.
I wanna be a movie. When I grow up, I wanna see the world drive nice cars.
And this awful high tone that kicks in on the second chorus and just keeps going. It's just constant, non-stop annoying throughout the entire song. Never once taking a moment to so much as breathe. It's just exhausting.
And the obnoxiousness. It's genuinely toxic in a way that's kind of hard to quantify. Forget unique vocal personality from any of these girls. All they just blend into this homogenous blob of concentrated smug bitchiness for no discernible reason. And to make matters worse, the writing, no, scratch that. The idea of this song's subject matter is infuriating. This is a song about what they wanted when they grew up. They got all of it, and they're still bitching about it.
The line they keep stressing, be careful what you wish for because you just might get it, is probably what bugs me the most about this song's writing. What reason have these people given me to not wish for this? They mention no negatives that come with being famous. They just keep going on and on about how they're the center of attention and everyone looks up to them and loves them. What are they even complaining about? If I had just this song to go off of, I'd probably conclude that nothing bad ever happens to famous people.
Well, that certainly was not true for the Pussycat Dolls, thank God to say the least. Their career fizzled out pretty shortly after this, with only one of their subsequent 4 singles becoming a notable hit in 2009. I hate this part. Ironically, probably one of their best songs by far, even if you can't jerk off to it. They went on hiatus shortly after, which quickly shifted into a full-fledged breakup. Only one of the band's 6 members, Nicole Schlesinger, even tried for a solo career, producing only one notable hit song before fizzling out into nothing due to her unfortunate choice to work with will.i.am. The Pussycat Dolls' reputation has nearly devolved into nothing these days. Nowadays, they're just one of those forgettably awful mid-2000s gems that would honestly be lucky to get mocked on Family Guy for nostalgia value.
And there it is, the worst hit song of 2008. A clattering mess by a flash-in-the-pan group that was soon to be forgotten. Oh yeah, that's pretty representative of 2008, I'd say.
Anyways, I'm Mark, host of Spectrum Pulse. If there's anything that we could have done to improve our presentations, let us know in the comments section, and be sure to like and subscribe. Actually, you know what? Subscribe to him, not me. I'm the one who crashed this whole party.
Indeed you were. I'm the Double Agent, and remember to drink responsibly. See you in a couple weeks.
Why are you wearing jeans?
I don't know, why are you such a bitch? Wait, is the camera still on?